Welcome back to Hopeful Horizon, where we bring you stories that uplift the spirit and challenge perspectives. Today's story is one of resilience, redemption, and the pursuit of truth. It begins with a music icon living his dream, until a corrupt officer shatters everything with lies and planted evidence. What follows is a harrowing fight for justice that will take you from prison cells to a dramatic courtroom showdown. Stay with us as we explore a journey of betrayal, resilience, and triumph that will leave you inspired. If you love stories filled with unexpected twists, powerful messages, and unforgettable moments, be sure to comment below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss an impactful story from Hopeful Horizon, and let us know where you're listening from. The sun beamed down on Los Angeles, casting a golden glow over the city's sprawling streets. Inside his state-of-the-art recording studio, Snoop Dogg leaned back in his chair, savoring the rare moment of peace. The scent of freshly brewed coffee lingered in the air, mixing with the faint hum of unfinished beats playing softly from the sound system. This was his sanctuary, a place where creativity flowed and the chaos of the world faded into the background. "Man, this track is going to be fire," Snoop said to his producer, nodding to the beat as he jotted down lyrics in his signature laid-back style. "You already know," the producer grinned. "Another classic in the making, dog." Snoop chuckled, tapping his pen on the notepad. Life was good, or so it seemed. Suddenly, the tranquility shattered as the front door burst open with a violent crash. The room filled with the deafening sound of police sirens and heavy boots thudding against the floor. Uniformed officers stormed the studio, their weapons drawn. "What the—" Snoop froze, disbelief flashing across his face. "Hands where I can see 'em," a voice barked. Leading the charge was Officer Steve Miller, a man with a reputation for making big arrests and an ego to match. His sharp eyes gleamed with a dangerous mix of ambition and malice. Snoop raised his hands slowly, confusion etched on his face. "Yo, what's all this about?" "You know exactly what this is about," Miller sneered. "We got a tip. Drugs in your car. You're under arrest." The room fell silent, save for the rapid thudding of Snoop's heartbeat. He knew the truth. There were no drugs. He hadn't touched that scene in years, focused instead on his family, career, and community work. "That's a lie," Snoop said firmly, his voice steady despite the chaos. "You ain't gonna find nothing, 'cause there ain't nothing to find." Miller's smirk widened. "We'll see about that." Outside, paparazzi swarmed like vultures, cameras flashing as they captured the unfolding drama. Headlines were already being crafted in the minds of tabloid writers. "Snoop Dogg busted. Career in shambles." The officers searched Snoop's car meticulously, and just as he predicted, they found nothing. But Miller wasn't one to walk away empty-handed. With a swift motion, he planted a small bag of white powder beneath the driver's seat, his actions concealed from prying eyes. "Bingo," Miller announced triumphantly, holding up the planted evidence for all to see. Snoop's jaw clenched. "You lying, man. That ain't mine." Miller leaned in close, his voice low and venomous. "Nobody's gonna believe you over me. I'm the hero here, and you're just another headline." The cuffs snapped around Snoop's wrists, cold metal biting into his skin. The weight of injustice settled heavily on his shoulders, but he refused to bow under its pressure. As he was led away, reporters shouted questions, their voices blending into a chaotic blur. Fans and onlookers watched in shock, disbelief written across their faces. In the courtroom weeks later, Miller's fabricated evidence and false testimony sealed Snoop's fate. Despite his lawyer's best efforts, the judge delivered a devastating verdict: 10 years in state prison. A collective gasp echoed through the courtroom. Snoop's family wept, their hearts breaking at the injustice. But Snoop stood tall, his resolve unshaken. As he was escorted out of the courtroom, he turned to his lawyer, Angela Rivera. "We ain't done, Angela. I'm gonna prove the truth. Watch." Her eyes burned with determination. "We'll fight this, Snoop. I promise." As the prison gates loomed ahead, Snoop silently vowed to expose the corruption that had torn his life apart. The clang of the heavy iron gates echoed through the stark concrete walls as Snoop took his first steps into the prison yard. The air was thick with tension, a palpable mix of hostility and despair. Inmates moved in clusters, their eyes sharp and wary, sizing up the new arrival. "Yo, that's Snoop Dogg," someone whispered. "Damn, what he doing in here?" Ignoring the murmurs, Snoop kept his head high, his calm demeanor masking the storm of emotions swirling inside. He had always been a survivor, and this would be no different. "First timer, huh?" A grizzled guard sneered as he shoved Snoop toward his cell. "Better get used to it, dog. Ain't no VIP treatment here." The cell was small and grim, with a thin cot and a toilet bolted to the wall. The cold concrete floor offered no comfort, but Snoop knew this was just another battle he had to face. Days turned into weeks, and prison life settled into a monotonous routine. Snoop quickly learned the unspoken rules: stay out of trouble, mind your business, and earn respect. It didn't take long for his reputation to spread. Despite being surrounded by hardened criminals, Snoop's presence brought a rare sense of calm to the tense environment. His wisdom and street smarts made him a natural leader, and inmates gravitated toward him. "Yo, dog, you ever think about running a music workshop in here?" Marcus, a wiry inmate with a sharp wit, asked one afternoon. Snoop raised an eyebrow. "A music workshop in this joint?" "Why not? We got nothing but time, man. Plus, I seen how you keep dudes in line without even trying. You could teach us something real." A slow smile spread across Snoop's face. "Aight, bet. Let's do it." What started as informal sessions in the yard soon grew into structured workshops. Snoop taught inmates how to write lyrics, find rhythm, and channel their pain into music. The once bleak atmosphere began to shift, replaced by a sense of purpose and creativity. One evening, as the workshop wrapped up, Marcus pulled Snoop aside. "I gotta tell you something, man," Marcus said, his voice low. "I know why you in here, and it ain't right. I got proof that Miller dude's dirty." Snoop's eyes narrowed. "What you talking about?" Marcus glanced around nervously before continuing. "Miller been planting evidence for years, locking up people to make himself look good. I got paperwork on it, names, dates, everything." The weight of Marcus's revelation hit Snoop hard. If what he was saying was true, it could be the key to exposing Miller and clearing his own name. "We gotta get this to my lawyer," Snoop said firmly. Marcus nodded. "I'll help you, but you gotta promise me something. Don't let this die in here. Too many of us got done dirty by that cop." "You got my word," Snoop said, gripping Marcus's hand. The fight for justice had only just begun. The courtroom was packed to capacity, a restless sea of faces eager to witness the unfolding drama. Spectators whispered anxiously, their conversations buzzing with speculation. Journalists hunched over their notepads, cameras poised to capture every second of what promised to be a sensational hearing. At the defense table, Snoop Dogg sat calmly beside Angela Rivera. His tailored gray suit was a stark contrast to the jumpsuit he'd worn for nearly a year. Despite the turmoil he had endured, Snoop carried himself with quiet dignity, his resolve unwavering. Angela, a formidable presence in her own right, rifled through a thick folder of evidence, her expression sharp and unyielding. "Are you ready for this?" Angela asked, leaning closer. "Born ready," Snoop replied, his voice low but firm. The bailiff's voice boomed across the room. "All rise for the Honorable Judge Armstrong." A hush fell over the courtroom as Judge Armstrong, a stern woman, known for her meticulous approach to justice, took her seat at the bench. "Counselor Rivera, you may proceed with your opening remarks," she instructed. Angela stood confidently. "Your Honor, today we present irrefutable evidence proving my client, Calvin Broadus, known professionally as Snoop Dogg, was wrongfully convicted due to the corrupt actions of Officer Steve Miller." Miller sat at the prosecution table, his jaw clenched, sweat glistening on his brow. He had always been the hunter, never the hunted. But today, the tables were turning. Angela gestured toward the projection screen at the front of the courtroom. "Let's start with Exhibit A, surveillance footage from the night of my client's arrest." The lights dimmed as a grainy video played. The footage showed Miller leaning into Snoop's parked car, his movements deliberate. Seconds later, he slipped something beneath the driver's seat, the bag of drugs that had sealed Snoop's conviction. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. "Officer Miller," Angela said, turning toward him, "care to explain what you were doing here?" Miller's lawyer shot to his feet. "Objection! This is speculative." "Overruled," Judge Armstrong said firmly. "The footage speaks for itself. Continue, counselor." Angela's voice was icy. "We all see what you did, Officer Miller, but that's not all. Let's talk about your deal with known drug traffickers." The room tensed as Angela pulled out a series of documents. "These signed statements from confidential informants reveal that you not only planted evidence, but also accepted payments to protect a drug ring operating right under the department's nose." Miller's face turned ashen. "That's a lie," he spat. "Oh, is it?" Angela arched an eyebrow. "Then perhaps you can explain why Detective Harris is here today." A tall, broad-shouldered man in a crisp suit rose from the back of the courtroom. Detective Harris, once Miller's trusted colleague, now stood as the key witness. "I was there," Harris said solemnly as he took the stand. "Miller threatened my career if I didn't cover for him. I did what he told me because I was scared, but I can't live with it anymore." The tension in the room was palpable. Judge Armstrong leaned forward, her expression grim. "Detective Harris, are you saying you knowingly covered up criminal activity by Officer Miller?" "Yes, Your Honor," Harris admitted, "and I'm here to make it right." Angela's voice rang out clear and confident. "Your Honor, I rest my case." Judge Armstrong's gavel slammed down. "This court will recess for deliberation." As the judge exited, the weight of truth hung heavy in the air. Snoop turned to Angela, gratitude flickering in his eyes. "You did it," he said quietly. "We're not done yet," Angela replied, "but we're damn close." The courtroom was silent as Judge Armstrong returned to the bench, her expression unreadable. Snoop stood tall, his heart pounding in his chest. This was the moment he had waited for, the chance to reclaim his freedom and his life. After reviewing the evidence presented, Judge Armstrong began, her voice steady but emotional. "This court finds that Calvin Broaddus was wrongfully convicted due to the corrupt actions of Officer Steve Miller. All charges are hereby dismissed." A wave of relief swept through the room. Gasps of joy and cheers erupted from the crowd, quickly stifled by the judge's stern glare. Judge Armstrong's voice trembled slightly as she continued. "I apologize on behalf of this court for the injustice you've suffered, Mr. Broaddus. This verdict doesn't erase what you've endured, but I hope it marks the beginning of healing." Tears welled up in Snoop's mother's eyes as she clutched his hand tightly. Angela smiled, the weight of months of hard work lifting from her shoulders. "You're free, Snoop," she whispered. Snoop exhaled deeply, the chains of injustice finally broken. As he walked out of the courthouse, the world exploded into a frenzy. Reporters shoved microphones in his face, fans chanted his name, and supporters held signs reading "Justice for Snoop." But Snoop wasn't focused on the chaos. His eyes were locked on his family, his anchor through the darkest days. He hugged his wife and kids tightly, their love a shield against the storm. "Daddy's home," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Instead of harboring bitterness, Snoop saw an opportunity to use his platform for change. At a press conference that afternoon, he made his intentions clear. "I ain't here to drag nobody down," Snoop said into the microphone, his voice steady. "But we gotta fix this broken system. Too many folks locked up for crimes they ain't commit. That's why I'm starting the Broaddus Foundation, to help the wrongfully convicted get justice." The crowd erupted into applause. A few months later, a massive justice rally filled the heart of Los Angeles. The air buzzed with energy as thousands gathered to demand reform. Snoop stood on a brightly lit stage, microphone in hand, the crowd hanging on his every word. "We ain't just talking about change," he said passionately. "We making it happen." The beat dropped, and Snoop launched into a powerful performance of a new song, a raw, unfiltered anthem of resilience and redemption. His voice carried over the crowd, a symbol of triumph over adversity. Back in prison, Steve Miller sat alone in his cell, the irony of his downfall not lost on him. Justice had come full circle, and now he faced the very system he had once manipulated. As the final notes of Snoop's song echoed through the rally, the crowd erupted into cheers, their voices a powerful force for change. Snoop Dogg stood tall, a living testament to the strength of the human spirit, the power of forgiveness, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. The world had tried to silence him, but he had turned pain into purpose, and the world was finally listening. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey of resilience, justice, and redemption. Snoop's story reminds us that no matter how dark the road may seem, courage and truth can always light the way. It's about rising above injustice and using our platforms to create change. If this story moved or inspired you, be sure to leave a comment and share your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss another story that challenges, inspires, and uplifts. Let us know where you're listening from. We love hearing from our incredible community. Until next time, stay hopeful, stay strong, and always stand up for what's right.